Thank you.
Where was that at, Brother Heberling?
Matthew chapter 5, verse 6. I guess I'm on your reading. Thank you, Jesus. We're talking about, well, motivation can come in several different ways. You know, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning? What is it that causes you to do the things you do? And a lot of it's because we got bills we got to pay, that we get out and get a job. There are things around the house that we need to take care of, things in just ordinary life that we got to take care of. One man said that starvation is a good motivator, so we want to eat. So we got to work to get the money to get the food to eat. Some of us, it wouldn't hurt us if we skipped a couple of meals, like myself. But Sister Heberling keeps me fed. She promised me before we got married I'd never go hungry. I haven't. And I thank God for my lovely wife. She's a good motivator, right?
That's good.
I was going to be retired before I got married, but when I got married, now there's some motivation right there. Funny how that changes your whole perspective on things.
Hallelujah.
But, you know, we got life to take care of. Things can get in the way sometimes of living through life. Just simple life can do that because of one thing and another. But God puts us places that lets His light shine through us, like the emergency room in Springfield.
Amen.
But we need to find that place in God where we hunger and thirst after Him.
Yes.
To be in a place that, you know, we know that God will meet us there. Putting off this world, putting off the worries of this world, to the point that we realize that if we put God first, those things will be taken care of. But that doesn't mean we treat Him like a bellboy. Give me this, give me that. We have to take care of things ourselves too.
Right.
You know, He fed them in the wilderness. You know, He rained manna down, but they're the ones that still had to go out and get it. He didn't put it in their house. He didn't put it in their mouth. Mother bird does her chicks to feed them. He wanted them to get out there and realize that there are some things that we've got to do too. Those things that we put in our lives or allow in our lives or creep into our lives, the decisions that we make in our lives, they're all motivated by our flesh, our needs. There's nothing wrong with eating in itself. There's nothing wrong with working. Overindulging in those things can make us lose track of our real purpose as people of God and Christians, and those things that where God is trying to lead us can get in the way. We can get carnal minded, mission slip, you might call it. You know, those things that we get distracts us, those things that cause us to look at ourselves more than at God. You know, Adam and Eve, they were the only two people on earth creation. You know, and they only had eyes for each other. Well, they were the only two people on the earth, so who else was there to look at? Well, there was me. You know, before the fall, they looked at each other. They didn't worry about each other. But when Adam and Eve sinned and took of that fruit that they wasn't supposed to, and rebelled against God, then their eyes were opened and they saw that I was naked. You know, that, you know, I took of the fruit and I saw that I was naked. Okay, now their eyes is not on each other, but they're on their self. Okay, instead of staying with God, they got distracted or allowed themselves to get distracted and rebelled against God, but they knew what God had said, you know, and that those things that He said was going to happen, happened, and we're living with those results today. You know, we have to work by the sweat of our brow, and if you ever been at the VA, it's definitely a futile piece of work, because you put one thing together, and 6 months later you're coming back to take the thing apart and put something else in its place because somebody else had a better idea they wanted to fly, and you could tell them that ain't going to work all you want, but if it's not your idea, and it's not their idea, it's wrong. I had a little victory on that front just yesterday, actually. I was telling them about this door that needed work, and they wanted to do this, wanted to do that. I said, no, you're going to have to open up the wall, you're going to have to reframe it, you're going to have to do this to it. And they said, no, we're going to try this. Well, it didn't work, so it's now I got to open up the wall and fix it. Fix it. Okay, because somebody's educated idea didn't work. Okay. But what is it? I guess I'm just trying to have us think about where we're at in the Lord. You know, are we really chasing after God? Are we really thirsting and getting hungry after the things of God? You know, you've heard me talk about my testimony before I got into church. Got in the church. I was in a Baptist church when I decided to go, and I just prayed that, God, I'm looking for you, and if I can't find you, then there's no use. If all you're here to do is exist and work and die, you might as well get it out of the way. And that's true, because if there is no God, then what purpose is there? You're just fulfilling your thing, and in the end, you're doing nothing. You know, there's absolutely, without God, there's just absolutely no purpose in life. You're just going to die with the most toys, I guess. Fulfilling your own desires and lusts after that. But if you look at the greater thing that God has for us, the greater purpose that He has for us, is to, Ecclesiastes says that the whole duty of man is to fear God and keep His commandments. You know, we were made for His purpose, and whatever that purpose is, you know, regardless of what it is, you know, at the end it's going to be fine. I mean, Lazarus, he sat there and died. Not one word in the Bible does it say, place in the Bible does it say that Lazarus said anything. Okay, he just sat there listening to Jesus and died. And then God raised him from the dead, and now he was just sitting there listening to Jesus. Now he's raised from the dead. Not only did they want to kill Jesus, but they wanted to kill Lazarus too now. So God put him out there and put him out front and showed His glory through him. And because He showed His glory through him, and what that did was condemn the lives of those that was trying to kill Jesus, whom Jesus was also trying to save. You know, they were, you know, Lazarus, every time you see him, he's with Jesus, or he's dead, but he's already being raised from the dead in the Bible. You know, Mary and Martha, you know, she's running around trying to get everything together so Jesus can eat, and Mary, she's sitting there listening to Him, and she's mad because she's not helping, and she's fretting about all this stuff, you know, and Jesus basically said, you're just too worried about life. And what Mary's doing is not going to be taken from her. But then the second time we see them, they're at Lazarus' house again, they're throwing a feast, and it specifically says that Mary served. But there's not one word of complaint out of her. God had her where she needed to be, doing what she needed to be doing. And when she finally realized that God had her where she needed to be, she calmed down and just let God have His peace flow through her and on her, and realized that, yes, this is where you need to be for now. You know, there was talking about the peace that you had, I felt that one time. And I was really strapped in finance. And finally I just said, God, I need some financial relief, and immediately the peace of God just fell. And I thought, okay, He's going to work it out. And for the next 2 months, everything was still the same, but there was a peace. And after about 2 months, that relief came. And I didn't have to worry about it anymore, because, you know, God just gave me a piece. Also had a good squirrel gun too, so that helped me. But if you seek after God, if you get in a place and continually look after Him, what motivates you? I get out of bed in the morning because I love my wife, and I
Right.
want to provide for her and do good for her, and it blesses me to bless her that way. Okay? And that's what God wants. He wants us to seek after Him so He can bless us, so we can bless Him, so we can be with Him and enjoy and increase that fellowship with Him. And then one day when he's through building our mansion, get that last nail, says, "Come on in, bride, I'm done. It's ready for you. Here it is." The lust of this world and everything in it is just like I don't know, Brother Childers, you remember the old billboards that they had up, and the cop was always behind it somewhere at some point, speed trap, And that's all it is. It's just a big piece of wood up there with a piece of cardboard picture on it. And the cop or the devil's waiting behind it. Going to draw you there and get you. That's all it is. But God's got something that's real. It's not a facade. It's not just a picture. It's something that is really, truly there. And the only time that God has never failed me, even when I was backslid, He kept His hand on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to a war, I'm jumping out of airplanes, doing all this stupid stuff, God kept His hand on me. We went to Desert Storm, and God promised me I wouldn't get hurt. And I didn't get hurt.
Praise God.
I'm jumping out of airplanes at Fort Bragg, and I jumped out. The last time I jumped out, I got on the drop zone, and God said, "That's it. Okay." And I haven't been in a plane with a parachute since. When God said that's it, especially jumping out of an airplane at 200 miles an hour at 1,250 feet, it's time to stop. Okay? And I like to think about it, but I don't miss it. I'm too old to be doing that. Pardon me?
You were in Desert Storm?
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yes, I was. But 9/11 today is reminding me of that, which is, well, that's all can of personal worms. Just pray for me about that. I've had issues with that. But anyway, being thirsty and hungry for God. He fed the 5,000 and they followed Him. And finally He just turned around and said, "You're just following me for the loaves and fishes.
Come on.
You just follow me after because of your bellies."
Yes.
And the Bible says that fire and the belly are the same. They're never satisfied. And it says that meat's for the belly, the belly's for the meat, and God will destroy both it and them. It's just something that's carnal. It's something that's just, you're going to eat now, 4 hours later, you're going to want to eat again because you're hungry again. And your stomach is never satisfied. But God is a satisfying God. And sometimes He does give you that cherry cheesecake.
Hallelujah.
Those things that you
Hallelujah.
want and enjoy. But just enjoying the presence of the Lord, being in His presence, being near Him
Most
for
important.
His sake, and not what you could get out of it.
Come on.
Okay, whenever He started telling them, says, "You need to eat of my
Hallelujah.
body and drink of my blood, or you have no part of me." And then the sayings got hard, and He was basically telling them it's time to pay the piper for what you're getting. And He just thinned out the crowd. He wanted the ones that was real. He wants the ones that truly want to be with Him. There are going to be times when we go through things that God's going to shake you. God's going to stir you and see and He knows what you're made of. He's just trying to show you what you're made of.
right.
He's just trying to show that thing that's in you that needs to be gotten out of the way, or that thing that needs to be put in you, that draw you closer to Him and be more like Him, to be more grown up, like, that He can handle things. It says that Job was perfect before the Lord. The word perfect does not necessarily mean in the Bible that he was without flaw. It just means that he was mature in the Lord for what he knew of God at that time. Okay, and whenever Job got finished with it, with all that stuff that he was going through, God gave him back twice of everything that he had. And his children, he was restored his children, but this time he looked at his children in a different light, because in the beginning it says that they ate and they feasted, and Job prayed for them. Well, which is fine, it's great. But at the end, his children he was given 7 more children and daughters, and this time it says they ate and feasted, and he did it with them. Because he realized that there's something more precious than camels and goats and gold and silver. His family had been taken from him.
Amen.
That thing that was forward in him, that was the projection of him, of his, I don't know, what moment, virginity or legacy, or his family's future was in that.
Right.
You know, that's the only thing in this life that you can take with you is your family, your children. Those things are the only thing that you can take with you that you have here at the end. But you know, Job complained, he complained. Finally, God looked at him and says, "What are you complaining about? You know, yeah, you're seeking after me, but what are you complaining about?" Yeah, you really got nothing to complain about. He says, "Well, let's see, I lost all my wealth and health and my kids, and I'm sitting in a garbage dump scraping my body with a piece of pottery. You know, I got 3 accusing friends and a wife that wants me to commit suicide. The only other thing left to do is God has just killed me." But God didn't do that. He showed Job where he was. What was it that he was really made of? And at the end, God blessed him for it. Job just said, "I'm vile, I'm going to shut my mouth." And he sat there in his misery, and God talked to his 3 friends, and they had something against all of them. Now Job has still got the boils, he's still sitting in the garbage dump, and God said, "You go and you have Job pray for you, because I will have respect for you." And when he prayed, then God prayed for his friend, then God brought him out of where he was at and put him in a new place and restored him. Sometimes we might be sick, we might be whatever. Sometimes God just might want to show somebody else His glory through you while you pray for them. Your faith in Him while you're still drawing on your faith in God. Well, how come you want to pray for me? How come you're still sick? I don't know, but God told me to pray for you anyway, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
And, you know, you went home, you prayed for them people, you were sick, and now you ain't sick.
I was on a bed with rails up. I don't think you're right.
You know, Brother Crutchfield was in a hospital. They couldn't figure out. He prayed for that guy and testified, and he went home. They never did find out what was wrong with him, but they didn't cut on him either.
Right.
But you know,
Good stuff.
we need to take account of where we are in God. We need to be able to say, when I stand, we just need to make sure we are standing and not just on our own flesh, like Peter at the first. Well, I'll never deny you, Lord. I will die for you. You know, and then, but he did. But then he got back to God and got to a place where he did die for him. We need, you know, until God, you know, you heard me say, well, God's going to take me, I'm going to be happy and glad and all that business. Well, I had a little scare in my heart now. Well, I don't really want to die right now. Well, I didn't need dying grace at that time, because obviously I didn't die. You know, well, God will give you what you need when you need it. We need to know that He is there for us. And, you know, as hard as our flesh is, we need to be there for Him. Go there and talk to that guy, or go do this. Go there at 3 o'clock in the morning out in the empty street and preach. You know, something like that. Something really weird or awful or so we would think. But we don't know what God's doing. All we know is our piece of the puzzle, He wants us to go lay down somewhere and put that down so He can put someone else there to put their piece of that puzzle in. But we need to be sensitive to Him, and in His movement of the Spirit. And I just want us to be able to take note of where we are. Are we really chasing after God? Are we really pursuing Him? Are we really thirsty for Him? Are we really hungry for Him? You know, being hungry and thirsty, that's how we know that we're hungry, and we need to eat, and that helps us sustain our life. And He is the bread of life, and He is the living water. You know, we get our being from Him. And I just want to draw closer to Him. I want to be more sensitive to Him.
Amen.
I want to be able to be moved by Him. You know, David, he one time he said the Philistines had Bethlehem, and he said if I, he just was thinking out loud, if I could drink from the waters of the well of Bethlehem. And three of his mightiest men broke through the line. He didn't tell them to do it. He just longed for it. And they went and got him a drink of water out of that well, and he brought it back. And he said, "Here, have a drink." And he poured it out before the Lord because these men had risked their lives to get him a glass of water. He didn't tell them to do it. He just desired it. But they were so close to David that if my king wants that, and he's going to get it. Just sensitive to the desires of God, you know. But David did some foolish things, but it really doesn't say he spoke foolishly like that again. He learned from it about what he should say and when he should say it. But just want us to think on what it is that we might need to start doing and stop doing to try to get closer to God.
Yes.
You know, I just would like for us to be aware of God's movement in our lives.
Thank you, Jesus.